everybody. We're Cash One Pond. We're ready. We got your back, and we're unbeating all the rest of them. Here we go. You ready? Well, you want money? We got money. You need money? We got money. We're Cash One Pond. Cash One Pond. Cash One Pond. Cash One Pond. Money to lend, money to spend. We can put money in your hands. We're Cash One Pond. We're Cash One Pond. Cash One Pond. Cash One Pond. You don't have to worry. Sometimes when you're a little broke and you just need something to get over the hill, we're there with the truck. We got your back. We're Cash One Pond. Come down and see us. Cash One Pond. We're Cash One Pond. Cash One Pond. Cash One Pond. Cash One Pond. We're Cash One Pond. Cash One. Cash One Pond.
Okay, I had one question. With the video, I know in the NFL, that's only still shots of the video with the tablets. Would that be video, like moving video, or will it be still shots?
Yeah, moving video. They get 3 to 6 camera angles, depending upon how we're set up.
We're working out how many from replay.
There you go. Yeah, but it is live. It is live video of the previous series and that type of stuff. So,
Okay,
yeah.
awesome.
Kind of an interesting thing with the calendar this year and that 12 game schedule. Just any thoughts on that? Any other games?
Yeah, every few years, because of the way the calendar works, in around Christmas time and the playoffs, you get 12 games within FCS. So the next 2 years are actually 12-game seasons. So we think it's great. It allows some of our teams to get up to 7 home games and opportunities from a non-conference perspective to prove ourselves more. So now I'm a big fan of 12-week seasons, but like I said, they probably only happen, once or twice every 5 years.
Is there pressure? I don't want to say pressure, but you assume you want teams playing Division I teams and not Division II teams. Are you seeing any changes in that year on year?
Yeah, scheduling is always a really big part of what we do, and it's really difficult from a scheduling perspective always to get teams to come out west and play. I want our teams to play all Division I teams if they can. Recognize that's not always an option, but they know that for us to get from a playoff perspective where we want to get to, you got to play good non-conference competition. And so that's that's the goal, and then each of them have to kind of decide for themselves what formula works for them.
How much did you have to do with getting that FCS title game moved on Monday night?
We worked really hard on getting that game moved away from the NFL. There were a lot of us that were really pushing hard for Friday night for years in that same weekend. Then all of a sudden the CFP went to the Friday, Saturday. So then it was like, okay, well then we're very fortunate. As soon as they went to 12 teams in the tournament, they had to move their tournament back a week. So that opened up that Monday night. So now for the next 5 years, we're set to that Monday night, which was the CFP championship game, will now be the FCS championship game. And so for us to be the only football game on in the world that night, that's a really big deal. So we've been working really hard to push that, and the timing worked out. ESPN has noticed that draws an audience, that game does, and so they were excited to do it as well. So it's a really good thing for us.
I think there's any way to get more teams out west for non-conference games? Any solution to that?
Well, I wish there was. I'm open to it if you got a good one. But it's hard. If you're a team in Pennsylvania, why? And you can bus to every game. Why hop on a plane and fly all the way to Spokane to play Eastern Washington? There's nothing to gain by that. So we, like I said, our schools have worked really hard to do the home and homes, so they can get those teams out here. Some are more willing to travel than others, and there's no magic formula other than money talks to get those teams to travel.
Tom, you talked about kind of financial challenges coming out of the blue. Can you elaborate on what some of those are?
Yeah, so when the House settlement happened and the damages that are paid, there's 2 parts to the House settlement. There's the back damages, paid to the student athletes, and then there's the money forward that the Power 4 will pay to the student athletes. When they did the back damages, they essentially assigned those to all 360 schools. So I get it that we should all feel the pain. Unfortunately, what I don't like is that money that's being taken from the Big Sky, which on average is about 180. Let me give you a round. $180,000 to about $350,000 per year for the next 10 years. That's the penalty that our schools have to pay. And those dollars will go to the settlement, and then that money goes to former Power 5 football and basketball players. I use the line that, that Weber State's money is going to go into Joe Burrow and Zion Williamson's pocket, because that's exactly what's going to happen. And we didn't have any say in this. We were just pulled along by the NCAA, and they made a decision, here's how we're paying the damages. So, within the last month, our schools all learned, when all their budgets are booked for next year, that now here's this penalty. And so it's really unfair. And again, there's not much we can do about it, but it's just kind of disappointing that none of our student athletes are going to get this money, and yet we're all being taxed for it.
How much is that going to hurt?
Well, depending upon their budgets, it can hurt a lot. I think people are having to make really difficult decisions about where to take that money from. The money, it's not like the schools are just going to give over money to the athletic department. So they're having to make difficult decisions about travel, about staffing. At this point, I don't think any of our schools are going to have to drop a sport. But I can tell you that's been discussed because, all of a sudden, if you have a $17 million budget and all of a sudden you're out $300,000, that's a heavy penalty.
You mentioned with the Johnson case that you don't want or not advocate for athletes to be employees, and you said the athletes themselves don't want that either. So explain just specifically why that is your stance and the athletes where they land.
Yeah, when I've talked to our student athletes, what they don't like is, first of all, when they fully understand the employee, they like getting paid, right? We all do, right? Student athletes like, yeah, I spent a lot of time on this. If I can get some money, great. That's what NIL is set up for. If you capitalize on that money, that's great. The way the money's not supposed to work is you show up and I give you a check. And oh, by the way, you're going to get taxed for it, and we're going to track your hours. And all of a sudden, the student athlete's like, no, I don't really want that. So I think we're heading to a point in time where there's enough money in the system globally that certain schools, not in the Big Sky, I could see employee status coming at the Power 2, Power 4 level someday. I don't know how they settle their market without it, but there's just not quite enough money within our systems to be saying we're going to pay every student athlete $10,000 or $20,000 just for participation in college athletics. So right now it's not real right for us to do that, but I can tell you, I can see it coming to college athletics, whether it's in a couple years from now or 5 years from now. The bifurcation of the haves and have-nots has never been bigger, and it's only growing. And that's why the P2 is kind of running away, and every one of those other schools in the other two desperately wish they were part of that P2. And why? Because that's where the money is, and that money is going to continue to grow at such a fast rate that it just pulls them further away from the rest of us. And that's fine, because they're going to have a different model than what we have. And like I said, we're still going to be true college athletics in the Big Sky and have a balance between money and academics.
Team Up Top has been providing some of the coolest Montana-made gear and lifestyle clothing for more than a decade, and now the legendary brand is excited to partner with Skyline Sports to celebrate our 10th anniversary with a variety of top 10 lists, counting down some of the best athletes of the last decade throughout the Big Sky Conference. Up Top Clothing was started by a pair of Montana brothers who have a great passion for the Treasure State and all the people who make it so great. Whether you're in the market for Grizz, Bobcat, or Frontier Conference gear, whether you want a t-shirt or a cap hat or any other high-quality lifestyle clothing, be sure to visit teamuptop.com. If you shop online, use the checkout code Skyline15 to get 15% off all online orders. Teamuptop.com. Up Top Clothing, reminding you to take a step back and enjoy the moment.
Any worry about, potentially, if we have this discussion every year about, conference realignment, that maybe some Big Sky teams might try to move up and leave maybe a gap in the Big Sky?
Yeah, I guess you can never predict the future. We talk about expansion at every president's meeting about should we be doing something, what's going on out there, who's making things happen around the country, and should we be, really looking hard and making some changes. And our school's interested in that as well. My role is to make sure that they all know exactly what they would be getting into. I know what it's like, life of the G5. I was an AD at that level for 6 years. And the financial challenges have gotten more difficult for those G5 schools. If somebody's going to make the move now from FCS to FBS, they got to pay $5 million right up front just to do it. And then all of a sudden they probably got to invest anywhere from 8 to 10 million per year to be at that level, at the average level of, let's say, the Mountain West. And for our schools, that extra 8 to 10 million, I don't know where they get that from. I don't think the states are going to give them the money. The institution's not coughing that up. And I think our schools do a really good job maximizing their their ticket base, their season ticket base, donations. So, moving up would be a real challenge for our schools. And it doesn't mean that someday some of them might not aspire to be that. But like I said, my job is to educate them on the pros and the cons on being FBS versus FCS. And you see where it goes. So my crystal ball is not really clear on what this looks like in 5 years. But I do know that we've got a really good home for our programs. And there's a lot of schools out there across the country that look like ours.
How much are you getting from ESPN each year as part of the new extension?
Yeah, we're not going to discuss financials with the agreement, but they give us a very nice increase in the dollars. And our schools have done a great job embracing ESPN and the production part of making every game look like a high-quality TV production, and that's been wonderful. And we've shown them that we can draw quite an audience, whether it's part of our ESPN Plus package or it's late-night Saturday night football. And we're also going to dabble in some Friday night games for football this year, and starting in 25. So that'll be new. But again, that just provides incredible exposure for our teams. Again, 8 p.m. here might sound late, but for everybody on the East Coast and the Midwest that's home or at the bar or whatever, they're watching football, they're going to watch Big Sky football, and that's exciting for us.
Seeding 16 teams in the playoffs now, how do you see that impacting the Big Sky?
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful thing for the Big Sky. I'm glad you brought that up, that seeding 16 teams is going to help us where we won't have matchups like last year when North Dakota State played Montana State in the second round. Quite frankly, you had 2 of the 6 best teams in the country not getting one of them wasn't getting very far. So it spreads out the strength around the country, and that's going to help us get more home games, win more games, and get our teams deeper into the tournament. So it's a really big thing. About 4 or 5 of us have worked really hard over the last few years to get that done. It doesn't eliminate the regionality issues, but it certainly weakens them. And so I think that's a great opportunity for our teams.
Is there any concern, just with all this happening, about the NCAA men's basketball tournament's future?
I'm fortunate enough to be on the basketball committee, and we talk about expansion and the potential of that every meeting. We just met a couple weeks ago in Park City, and I can tell you it's a very complicated issue. It's not just, hey, let's add 4, let's add 8 teams. First of all, you have the bracket, and if you're going to add 4 teams, then you've got to pull 4 teams out of the field of 64 to play those 4 teams. Well, those 4 teams were expected to be in the field of 64, and now they're not. So it actually impacts, every time you do that, it impacts more teams. That's number one. Number 2, financially, we don't know yet if CBS and Turner Sports are going to pay more for any expansion. And then we'd also have to expand the women's tournament as well. So from an expense standpoint, again, chartering jets, getting all these people all over the country, it's really expensive. And so, it's not as simple as, hey, more teams want access, let's just add a few. It's really complicated. We're really going to take our time on it. And I don't have any prediction on it, and there's a reason why it's not like just done, because it's not easy. And we're also very concerned about affecting what we believe is the greatest 3 weeks in sports, is March Madness. So nothing's imminent, but I can tell you we discuss it every single meeting.
Is that it? Everybody good?
Join Town Pump's Pump It Up Rewards Plus program and never pay full price for fuel again.
Save 5 cents on every gallon every day at any Town Pump across Montana.
Plus, earn and redeem points on your favorite in-store items to get free stuff with our clubs.
Stop in and pick up a rewards card. Download the Pump It Up Rewards Plus app today.
Or visit townpump.com/rewards to register and start saving.
Town Pump. Right down